Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching the World Report on NDTV World. My name is Kitty Bahal. Let's start this edition. Israeli airstrikes in Gaza have killed over 300 people, according to Palestinian health authorities, with attacks reported across northern, central and southern Gaza. Hospitals already overwhelmed from months of conflict are struggling to handle the casualties, with many of the dead reported to be children. The Israeli military has confirmed hitting multiple targets and warns that its operations will expand beyond airstrikes. The renewed violence comes after weeks of failed efforts to extend the ceasefire that had been in place since January. NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams are set to return to Earth after being stuck on the International Space Station for 9 months. NASA confirmed that the Crew Dragon capsule carrying Williams and Wilmore undocked from the ISS at 10:35 a.m. IST. Their mission, originally meant to last just 8 days, was extended after technical issues with Boeing Starliner spacecraft. They will now return aboard SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule, splashing down near Florida after a 17-hour journey. The astronauts will undergo medical checks at NASA's Johnson Space Center before resuming normal activities. US President Donald Trump has said that his administration will release 80,000 pages of files on John F. Kennedy's assassination on Tuesday. Speaking at the Kennedy Center, Trump said the documents will provide a lot of reading and insisted they will not be redacted. The move follows a January executive order for the release of all remaining JFK-related records, including those on Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr. The National Archives says over 99% of JFK files have already been disclosed, but the new release could offer fresh insights into one of history's most scrutinized assassinations. Listen in to President Trump.
Tomorrow, announcing and giving all of the Kennedy files. So people have been waiting for decades for this, and I've instructed my people that are responsible, lots of different people, put together by Tulsi Gabbard, and that's going to be released tomorrow.
US President Donald Trump has said that key elements of a Ukraine peace deal have been agreed ahead of his phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Posting on Truth Social, Trump highlighted ongoing negotiations and the urgent need to end the war, citing 2,500 soldier deaths each week. The White House says peace has never been closer, but Kyiv remains cautious. French President Macron has also urged Russia to accept a ceasefire, while the UK has warned of more pressure on Moscow if peace talks stall. Well, the proposed deal includes a 30-day ceasefire, with negotiations continuing in Saudi Arabia. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar discussed the evolving global balance and the shifting dynamics of economic power at the Raisina dialogue. He emphasized on the transformation of international power structures and India's growing role on the global stage. Dr. S. Jaishankar stressed the importance of multilateralism and the need for global cooperation to address pressing challenges. Listen in.
After the Second World War, the longest standing illegal, I would say, presence, occupation of a territory by another country pertains to India. What we saw in Kashmir. Now, we went to the UN. What was an invasion was made into a dispute. I think we need, if to have an order, there must be fairness. I agree with you, Dominic. We need a strong UN, but a strong UN requires a fair UN. A strong, a global order must have some basic consistency of standards. We do need an international order, just like we need a domestic order. And it's not just big countries who will benefit if there is no order. I would argue that any country which will take risks, which will have extreme positions, which would test the system, will actually use disorder to its advantage. I mean, we've seen in our own neighborhood, you don't have to be a big country to be a risky country. I have some smaller neighbors who've done a pretty good job at that. So So first of all, I think we should all, understand the importance of an auto.
Beijing has warned Taiwan it would bring about its own destruction as China sent more than 50 warplanes in a military exercise to areas surrounding the self-governed island on Monday. The military drill was punishment for Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te's continued promotion of separatism, a spokesperson from China's Taiwan Affairs Office told. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense released rare videos and photos taken on March 17 showing what it says are military drills conducted by China's Navy. The videos include a close look at the China's Navy's Jiangsu 532, Wenzhou Frigate 526, Type 056A, Corvette 616 and Type 052D, Gillen 164. US President Donald Trump has vowed to hold Iran responsible for attacks by Yemen's Houthi rebels, escalating tensions in the region. The US military has carried out a fresh wave of airstrikes targeting Houthi positions with reports of at least 53 killed. Trump stated that every attack by the Houthis will now be seen as an attack from Iran itself, warning of dire consequences. The Pentagon has said that the strikes aim to stop threats to international shipping, not to change the regime in Yemen. Lebanon and Syria have agreed to a ceasefire following deadly cross-border clashes that left 10 people dead and dozens injured. Fighting erupted after Syrian troops and Lebanese armed groups exchanged fire with accusations of Hezbollah's involvement, claims the group denies. Well, Lebanese officials have said that they will continue talks with Syria to prevent further escalation. Meanwhile, residents near the border have fled to avoid shelling from Syrian forces. The European Union and its partners have pledged $6.3 billion in aid for Syria and neighboring countries to support humanitarian efforts and stabilize the region. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas announced the funding, saying it aims to address Syria's dire needs amid the ongoing instability. The country has seen renewed violence following attacks by militants loyal to ousted leader Bashar al-Assad. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Europe to strengthen ties with reliable allies amid escalating trade tensions with the US. Carney met French President Emmanuel Macron and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, emphasizing Canada's commitment to fair trade. Macron backed Canada's collaborative stance against US tariffs, while UK leaders reaffirmed their close alliance. Carney, a former central banker, aims to navigate US trade threats that could hurt Canada's economy. His choice to visit Europe before Washington marks a diplomatic shift as Canada seeks to balance relations with both continents.
I want to begin by expressing my deep gratitude to His Majesty King Charles III for his warm welcome and gracious hospitality that he showed me, he showed Canada with today's audience. We have a steadfast defender in our sovereign. You know, as Prime Minister Starmer mentioned in our session, Canada and the United Kingdom share a history, we share values, we share a sovereign. And those shared values between Canada and the United Kingdom, they are demonstrated through the leadership of Prime Minister Starmer, President Macron, and Canada's participation in the coalition of the willing for Ukraine.
The UK Trade Minister is attempting to fend off the threat of US tariffs. Britain's Business and Trade Secretary Jonathan Reynolds is travelling to Washington today to meet his US counterparts in the hope of strengthening economic ties as President Donald Trump continues to target long-standing allies with tariffs. Reynolds is due to meet US Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and Trade Representative Jamieson Greer, Britain's Department of Business and Trade has said. The Mohammad Yunus-led interim government in Bangladesh has expressed deep concern over the remarks of Tulsi Gabbard, who is the Director of National Intelligence for the US, on the situation in Bangladesh. In an exclusive interview with NDTV, Gabbard had said the long-time unfortunate persecution, killing and abuse of religious minorities, including Hindus, Buddhists, Christians and others, has been a major area of concern for the Donald Trump administration. Responding to her remarks, Bangladesh interim government has said in a social media post that we note with deep concern and distress the remarks made by Tulsi Gabbard in which she alleged persecution and killing of religious minorities in Bangladesh, and that the threat of Islamic terrorists in the country is rooted in the ideology and objective to rule and govern with an Islamist caliphate. Listen into what Gabbard had said in this exclusive interview.
We've seen a lot of political changes over there, a lot of violence over there, and several reports of attacks on minorities. Is the United States concerned about the situation there and the need for stability at all levels, not just political stability?
Yeah, of course. The long time unfortunate persecution and killing and abuse of religious minorities, Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, Catholics, and others, has been a major area of concern for the United States government and, of course, President Trump and his administration. The talks are just beginning between President Trump's new cabinet coming in and the government of Bangladesh, but this continues to remain a central focus area of concern, once again, with the threat of Islamist terrorists and their overall effort, the global effort of all of these different groups that are really rooted in their same ideology, their same objective, which is to rule and govern with an Islamist caliphate. This obviously affects people of any other religion other than one that they find acceptable, and they choose to carry this out through very violent and terroristic means. President Trump remains committed once again to identifying this ideology that drives Islamist terrorism, helping to defeat that ideology and defeat their ability to exact that terror on people, the American people and others.
Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla will visit Pope Francis in April during a 4-day trip to Italy and the Vatican. The visit, part of Jubilee Year celebrations, is seen as a historic step in the UK-Vatican relationship. The Pope remains in hospital following a respiratory infection, but the Vatican expects his recovery in the time for the meeting. Buckingham Palace has expressed hope for his health. The trip will also strengthen UK-Italy ties, with the royal couple attending events in Rome and Ravenna. Charles and Pope Francis share a strong commitment to environmental and interfaith causes. Well, with that, it's time for a short break here. More will continue on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back after the break. Wall Street saw gains for the second straight session as investors weighed economic data and the Trump administration's policies. The Dow rose 0.85%, the S&P 500 gained 0.64%, and the Nasdaq climbed 0.31%. Retail sales in February saw only a slight uptick, missing expectations. Meanwhile, factory activity in New York plunged to a 2-year low. Analysts have said that investor sentiment remains cautious with uncertainty around tariffs and federal job cuts. Despite the recent stock sell-off, some sectors are showing resilience, particularly in online retail. Market watchers are closely monitoring economic trends for further signs of stability. Google's parent company Alphabet is in advanced talks to acquire Israeli cybersecurity firm Wiz for over $30 billion. If finalized, this would be Alphabet's largest ever acquisition. The tech giant had previously offered $23 billion last year, but Wiz backed out over antitrust concerns. The deal could bolster Alphabet's cloud security business, which generated $43 billion last year. However, regulatory scrutiny is expected as Trump's administration may still enforce some antitrust measures. Neither the company has officially confirmed the talks. Wall Street analysts predict increased deal-making activity despite ongoing uncertainties around global tariffs. The U.S. Commerce Department has banned the Chinese AI model DeepSeek from government devices, citing security concerns. A department-wide email warned employees not to download or access DeepSeek on official equipment. Lawmakers argue the AI tool could expose sensitive data to the Chinese government. Several states, including Texas, New York, and Virginia, have already prohibited its use. A bipartisan bill in Congress seeks a nationwide ban. DeepSeek previously triggered a global market sell-off over fears it could challenge US dominance in AI. The Commerce Department has not yet commented on the extent of the ban. The global video game market is set for major growth, driven by the upcoming launch of Grand Theft Auto VI and Nintendo's next-gen Switch, according to research firm Newzoo. The gaming industry has been slow to recover post-pandemic, but analysts expect console sales to surge with these high-profile releases. Between 2024 and 2027, console software revenues projected to grow by 7%, outpacing PC gaming's 2.6% rise. By 2027, consoles will account for over 56% of the total PC and console software market, estimated at $92.7 billion. Chinese automaker BYD has revealed a breakthrough in electric vehicle charging. Its new Super E platform promises to charge EVs as fast as refueling a petrol car. With peak charging speeds of 1000 kilowatt, BYD claims a 5-minute charge will power an EV for 400 kilometers. This is twice as fast as Tesla's latest superchargers. In a first, BYD also announced plans to build a nationwide EV charging network in China, a move that could accelerate the country's transition to electric vehicles. German automaker Audi plans to eliminate 7,500 jobs in administration and development by 2029 as part of cost-cutting measures. The move aims to save $1.1 billion annually. This brings total planned layoffs across the Volkswagen group to nearly 48,000, with cuts at VW, Porsche and software unit CARIAD. Audi has already slashed 9,500 production jobs since 2019 to fund its electric vehicle transition. However, weak sales and high operational costs have hit the company hard, dragging down its profit margins. Audi's financial results for 2024 are set to be released soon. Honda and Suzuki will join Tesla's carbon emissions pool in 2025 to meet the European Union climate targets. The agreement allows automakers to offset their emissions by partnering with Tesla, which produces only electrical vehicles. While other major automakers, including Stellantis, Toyota and Ford, are also part of the EU emissions pool, failing to meet the EU's 2025 carbon reduction standards could lead to billions in fines for non-compliant manufacturers. By pooling emissions, companies can avoid penalties while continuing their transition towards greener technologies. A new FIFA report reveals a stark pay gap in women's football, with the average global salary for female players at just $10,900 per year. Top-tier clubs offer better pay, with some players earning over $50,000, but most professionals in lower tiers make under $5,000 US. The report also raises concerns about short-term contracts and low match attendance, emphasizing the need for greater financial stability for female footballers. Golfer Akshay Bhatia has pulled out of this week's Valspin Championship with no official reasons given. The 23-year-old recently finished third at the Players' Championship, coming close to a win against Rory McIlroy. Bhatia will also skip next week's Houston Open, but is expected to defend his Valero Texas Open title before the Masters in April. Boxing is set to be on the program for the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles after years of disputes over how the sport is run. International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach said on Monday the executive board he chairs approved including boxing on the 2028 program. It still needs a full IOC session of about 100 members to sign off on the decision later this week, but that is usually a formality. The IOC organized the boxing tournaments at the Tokyo Olympics held in 2021 and Paris Summer Games last year after relations with the Russian-led International Boxing Association broke down, but said it needed a new partner in time for 2028. Last month, the IOC recognized a new governing body, World Boxing.
Today's executive board was pretty, I can say, uneventful. Only one real decision, and this was about putting boxing on the program of the Olympic Games in LA 2028. this recommendation of go to the session. But I'm very confident that the session will approve it so that all the boxers of the world then have certainty that they can participate in the Olympic Games 2028 if their national federation is recognized by World Boxing.
Conan O'Brien is returning to the Oscar stage in 2026. The late-night host and comedian will preside over the 98th Academy Awards set for March 15. The Film Academy's leadership has said on Monday, the reason I am hosting Oscars next year is that I want to hear Adrien Brody finish his speech. Well, O'Brien said this in a statement. This year was O'Brien's first time leading the show, which attracted its biggest broadcast audience in 5 years, despite the winning movie Anora being relatively small. An estimated 19.7 million viewers watched the 97th Academy Awards ceremony earlier this month. It was also the most watched primetime entertainment show of 2025. Cities like New York and Chicago boast some of the largest St. Patrick's Day parades, attracting thousands of revelers and plenty of green beer. But a city in Arkansas has gained popularity over the years with its parade for an entirely different reason. The city of Hot Springs, a resort town known for its mineral-rich waters, promotes its 98-foot route as the world's shortest St. Patrick's Day parade. Well, with that, it's time to wrap this edition. More news on the other side.